What is up, Hawk fans? We are here to react to Iowa's 85-79 victory at home over the Washington Huskies. This was quite the game, very much back and forth, very much a nice Big Ten style game. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, guys. I've been saying this for the last couple of games. At the end of the day, the number one priority for Iowa, or the two biggest things, number one, in no particular order, seeing what they have for next year, and secondly, finishing this year as well as they can to salvage any semblance of optimism to carry over into next year. Although, unfortunately, we were saying basically the same thing last year. Just a heads up, guys. I am going to give you guys a video at the conclusion of the year, giving you guys kind of my final thoughts on whether I think Franz should stay. Obviously, we'll see if there's new news or new information that comes down the pipeline. We'll see what happens with that. But if that doesn't happen, I will give you guys that video maybe a little bit earlier. We'll see. So, but this was, like I said, very much a nice Big Ten style game in a new Big Ten opponent, the Washington Huskies. Iowa did not start this game well. Seydou Traore ended up only playing 3 minutes, and apparently that ended up being a coach's decision rather than due to injury. Drew Thelwell re-aggravated his ankle injury. He tried to push it. He played, I believe, 8 minutes in this game. So Iowa had to find, 8 minutes. Iowa had to find some production elsewhere, and boy, did they. They did not start the game well. They battled back in the first half, thanks in large part to the Sanford brothers. They were down by 1 at half. Kind of went back and forth in the second half. The officials definitely put a lot of whistles on plays in the second half. Iowa was in the bonus with 16 minutes to go in the second half. I do just want to give my opinion on one particular play. Riley Mulvey, there was a scrum, not like project management, but there was a scrum. The ball was, being jilted around, and Washington had it. They lost it a little bit. It went out to the top of the key. The guy gets it, 1-2 dribble, takes off. And of course, Riley Mulvey is there. He stepped up right in time, took the charge. You could see the lead official, that's what they're called, the official that is on the end line is the lead official. Obviously, 3-person is different than 2-person mechanics, but it's always lead. The furthest guy back is always the trail, and then C is center. In college, it does not matter whether the defender, well, let me back up. In officiating, they always say officiate the defense rather than ball watching and officiating the offense. And in my experience, it's very good advice, okay? In college, it does not matter if a guy takes off and is in the air for 20 seconds and the guy slides in there while that guy is in the air and sets himself and then gets the charge, okay? He does not have to be set before this guy starts to take off. Boom, set, and then this guy starts to... That's not how it has to be. In high school, really what matters most, most of the rules are similar, but there are some slight nuances. In high school, what matters more is what is considered legal guarding position, and having your torso being infringed upon and your torso being in legal guarding position, and the offensive player taking away unnaturally that legal guarding position. But in high school, the defender 9 times out of 10, I'd have to check and see, usually has to be there. I believe it's actually 10 times out of 10, has to be there in legal guarding position before the offensive player makes their offensive move. Okay? So, and legal guarding position encompasses a lot of things, being shoulder width apart. There's a lot of players that play defense like this. And if this arm gets in the way of the path, you can have a hit there rather than, that's why players are taught to take a charge like this or like this, so they're not taking up space that's unnatural to their legal guarding position. I thought it was a great call. Riley Mulvey got out, and then of course in college they have the circle in the key. He was right on the line, and right at the last second, maybe with a half a second to spare, he stepped out and he took the charge. Was there a ton of contact? The thing is, in college, these guys are such tremendous athletes that they, even in midair, can do a great job of avoiding the contact. But at the end of the day, Mulvey was in legal guarding position. He was outside the circle. And the offensive player had to go through him and take away his legal guarding position en route to the dunk. It was a great call, and that's why those guys are Big Ten Division I officials, okay? Plain and simple. So hopefully that makes sense to you. It was a great play. Like I said, Riley Mulvey, at the end of the day, just think about it this way, has to be in legal guarding position. And therefore, if Mulvey is in legal guarding position and the offensive player is trying to get from point A to point B, and in order to get to B, which in this case was the basket, had to go through Mulvey in his legal guarding position, it was a great call. Now, as for getting back to the actual game, although that was a part of the game, Josh Dix hit some big shots, had some really sweet moves. I wish he shot the ball more. The guy can get any shot he wants, but at times he still is too conservative, in my opinion. I might be the only guy that sees this. I don't think so. But he, to me, is clear and away the best player on this Iowa basketball team. I think he's even better than Peyton Sandfort. And I know Peyton Sandfort had a good night tonight with 27 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. But if you look at the production and you look at just the eye test, to me, Josh Dix has more talent and can score from all 3 levels, what you're looking for, more so than Peyton Sandfort. And I really think that he defers way too much at times. I'm all for, especially for a combo guard, to be an unselfish player at times. But for Josh Dix to take the step forward that he needs to take in order to be in the NBA draft conversation, he's got to become more assertive in getting shots. Now, there are some people who say that for players, they need to let, especially really good scorers, they need to allow the game to come to them. And that's true occasionally. But again, at the end of the day, if you're your team's best scorer and the game is not necessarily opening itself to you naturally, then no, you need to assert yourself and find ways to impact the game further. That's ultimately what it comes down to me, is impacting the game. And if it's not there naturally, for whatever reason, if the defense is trying to take it away, then you need to insert yourself and create some of those opportunities. So Peyton Sandfort finished with 27 points, like I said, in 40 minutes. Iowa would take the lead in the second half and ultimately would prevail in this game. The score should have been 85-76, but Washington hit a prayer, banked it in from 40 feet out. But, it still counts the same, luck or not. I mean, I guess they could say that Peyton Sandfort's last second shot with the shot clock was a lucky shot too. Josh Dix, in 33 minutes, 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. By the way, hats off to Peyton Sandfort for the 9 rebounds. Iowa needs every last rebound they can get. It's good to see him emerging as more of a consistent rebounder. He's always been a decent rebounder for his position and size. Lajai Dembele, 7 points, 8 rebounds in 23 minutes. Seydou Traore only played the 3 minutes, like I said. Drew Thelwell only 8 minutes. Iowa got 36 points from their bench. Carter Kingsbury, 29 minutes. He had 3 points. Very interesting. It'll be interesting to see what will he be Iowa's next Nicholas Baer? Will he be able to take on more minutes next year? He is on scholarship after all. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Brock Harding had a decent game. He did have some silly turnovers, but he had 11 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. I am liking the player that he's developing into. Riley Mulvey, 15 points, 9 rebounds. This is probably one of the best games of his career. Price Sandfort, 8 points, and Evan Bronze, 5 points in 10 minutes. And I'm good with that. Evan Bronze playing 10 minutes is fine. I've always said 8 to 15 minutes a night. Sometimes more, maybe sometimes less. This is what we need. And the distribution of the minutes is much better. Riley Mulvey was not seeing the floor as much the last couple of games. He was reintroduced, and here we are. I think he should still minimum play 5 minutes a game. But he obviously is capable of doing this against a Big Ten level opponent. And it's frustrating because it's like we're this far into the season. We've seen Carter Kingsbury have his performances, his most recent performance. And yes, it's only one game. I get that. We've seen what Riley Mulvey has been able to do in spot duty. Is it historic? No, but it's also not terrible to the point where you can't justify them having some minutes. Evan Bronze, same thing with his double-digit performance the other night in points. Fran McCaffrey always talks about how deep his team is, yet he doesn't do a good job of distributing those minutes. And I always say, at the end of the day, what it boils down to, the guys that play like every minute versus guys that don't, is are they so head and shoulders away better than the rest of the options that you have to where it's not even a question. Even on their off nights, they still need to play a lot of minutes. To me, the only guys that are there on Iowa's roster currently is Josh Dix and Peyton Sandfort. Maybe Drew Thelwell at times. The rest of the guys, it should vary from game to game how many minutes they're playing. Okay? Nobody on the roster has earned, outside of those guys, consistently being guaranteed X amount of minutes. So depending on the game, you need to distribute it more. And I think Iowa had more size, they had more physicality, they had more effort and toughness with Riley Mulvey and Evan Bronze tonight. So it was good. I liked Iowa's defensive performance tonight. They still almost gave up 80 points, but and they allowed Washington to shoot 53%. That's still not great. Iowa only shot 47%. Washington shot 47% from 3. That's actually pretty good. Iowa shot the same. Free throw percentage, Iowa shot 88%, good compared to Washington 72. Total rebounds 29-28, a rare Iowa win in the rebounding category. They limited Washington to 7 offensive rebounds. Assists 15-12 in favor of Iowa. Blocks 5-2 in favor of Washington. Steals 6-6. Turnovers 11-7. Washington had the more turnovers. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this video up. Listen, it's a good victory. I think this is going to be a quad 3 victory. As far as the Big Ten tournament goes, Iowa and Washington are towards the bottom. So, this was a very important game for both teams in order to make the Big Ten tournament. How much does this win impact my view on Iowa? I mean, maybe a little bit. I did like their effort. And the defense was a little bit better. The rebounding was obviously better. But the problem is we have seen this. Yes, this is a quad 3 game, and Iowa beat both Washington teams this year, Washington State and Washington. The problem is we've seen it before. We have seen Iowa win games like this and do well or improved in these categories, and we've seen them completely lose that the following 3-4 games after that. The problem has always been the consistency. What are you mostly, as far as consistency goes, what are you mostly? And Iowa, unfortunately, mostly this year has been a bad rebounding team. Mostly they have been a bad defensive team or below average. So, it's hard for me to get too upbeat about this one-off performance. Washington obviously is not the best team, but, still, a win is a win. I'll take it. It's I don't want to be the guy that even in victories is negative. I'm still happy that Iowa won, and that's good. I think outside of that, there's not really much more to take from it besides maybe individual performances. But that's pretty much it. Iowa is 63rd in the net. They're 6-10 in Big Ten play and 15-12 overall. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. In fact, your feelings because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, Hawk fans. I'll have you guys covered every step of the way. And stay tuned for the video at the end of the year. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.